Enbridge and its Line 5 have been trespassing through Bad River for over a decade. They have never been held accountable for this abhorrent injustice. Enbridge claims they are doing their best to appease the tribe, and yet they refuse to shut down the world's most dangerous pipeline. Enbridge has failed to show how this project will minimize harm to this watershed. They have failed to provide site-specific information about topography, hydrology, or geology. I would like to remind this body, you cannot play God. You cannot simply destroy an ecosystem and then replace it. Enbridge can't even repair what they have destroyed, nor do they care to. It is this body's job to ensure that when you allow any project like this, that you verify the impact on the Great Lakes and the watersheds that feed them, that they will not be detrimental to their survival or ours. Enbridge cannot be trusted. Allowing them to lie about how safe their equipment is to be entered into consideration is like allowing the fox to safeguard the hen house. In closing, Enbridge lies, Enbridge is rogue, and Enbridge must be stopped. All my love, blessed be the water protectors.
I was born in Wisconsin. My family and I take care of some forest land in the northern part of the state, but I live most of the year in Canada. Starting when I worked there as a professor of environmental studies, I learned a few things about the Canadian oil and gas industry. That industry has clear-cut and fragmented large areas of boreal forest that once thrived in the western part of the country. It is compounding the climate chaos, burning down much of the rest, thus choking us here in Wisconsin with deadly soot from Canadian wildfires. This destructive industry is expanding rapidly, rather than contracting as it must for both ecological and economic reasons. For the past 72 years, the Canadian oil and gas industry has used our Great Lakes watershed as a shortcut for oil on its way from Alberta to Ontario. Now Enbridge wants to lock us in to this arrangement for decades to come. That is a foul purpose. To carry it out would have many negative environmental impacts, some of which are detailed by the petitioners for this hearing. In editorials published this year in Wisconsin and Canada, I spell out why the reroute project would also kill off more jobs than it would create. The DNR erred by simply accepting Enbridge's purpose. They failed to consider altered purposes that are feasible to achieve and would fulfill, rather than subvert, the DNR's mission to protect and enhance our natural resources. Meanwhile, even the DNR point out in their environmental impact statement that, quote, almost none of the products derived from the oil and NGLs transported via Line 5 from the Superior Refinery through Wisconsin are consumed by Wisconsin households, end quote. Canadians don't even need this oil. They consume far less than half the oil they produce, and will need even less once the country finally starts living up to its international commitments for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. The petitioners describe many of the harms the reroute project would cause to some of the most precious wetlands and waterways in the state. As they and other experts have shown, the DNR grossly underestimated those adverse environmental impacts. This has utmost importance for biological diversity and ecological function. Among the three major types of ecosystem in the world, terrestrial, freshwater, and marine, freshwater habitats are already in the worst shape. From 1970 to 2020, freshwater wildlife populations collapsed by an average of 85%. Some of the main causes of this collapse are exactly what Enbridge proposes for aquatic habitats the new pipeline would cross, like dredging and dewatering. Finally, perhaps most shocking about the DNR's decision to grant these permits is they seem to have ignored Enbridge's record of breaking the law. This habit devastated Michigan's Kalamazoo River in 2010 and ruined Minnesota aquifers in 2021. Especially given this record, the petitioners are surely right. The DNR lacks reasonable assurance the project will comply with state water quality standards. Judge Jacob Foy, I apologize if I mispronounced your name, Please do what science, ethics, and law require. Please protect the Bad River community and the rest of us from the harms the reroute would cause, and deny the permits the DNR so wrongly granted.
Within this narrow process, the greatest socioeconomic effects are completely ignored. These include, at minimum, 1, the public and private provide assets proposed to be spent on the extension are going to become stranded assets, written off on the backs of public citizenry within the next 4 to 8 years. The wasting of these assets supports our failed fossil fuel energy system, directly terminates the use of assets for positive actions needed to confront the injustice and inequity of our climate catastrophe. The limited liability partnership Enbridge Energy, contradiction, is a corporation, not a person, designed to be abandoned by their foreign parent corporation, and their liabilities will be acknowledged, and they are told to pay. And we are going to pay. I've been paying. I've been paying with my health. My endocrine system has been ruined. I have a thing here. I grew up in the Cambridge area. The oil spill there was not reported for over a month. My mother got poisoned by other dioxin chemicals. We are so in a crucial point in our life to take care of our planet and our children, 7 generations. And this inconvenience is killing me. Your inconvenience is killing me. My body is broken because of all the chemicals you've consistently been putting in and saying, it's either this or that. Oh, and this is common sense. There's no common sense in putting a snake of oil into a water that I then can drink, and nor can anybody else. And your paradigm of domination is ridiculous. You're perpetuating a myth that this society is benefiting the world, that we're progressive, that we are evolving as a species of human beings. We're de-evolving, and you're clinging on to the purse which is killing us. It's not about money. It's about life. I have children. I'm a single parent. My mom's house was bombed in Latvia. The Russians said, oh, they would help us. The Allied forces said they would help us. People lie. People lie. But then the corporations come in and say, we're going to make it all better. Well, it's a lot of confusion. I went to an alternative high school in St. Nazianz, Wisconsin, and was taught by Father Melvin Tracy, and we built an eco-house at John F. Kennedy Preparatory High School. We recycled barn wood, we made batteries, solar cells. We had an environment there all by ourselves, without Enbridge, without any of these corporations shoving things down. Oh, I need plastic, yes, I need plastic. I need plastic. But there's confusion in what is healthy and what is stupid, and what is really not a purposeful approach to living. I live my life with purpose every day. I am grateful to have water and air and animals and human beings. And I hear that it's not common sense. Not common sense.
The proposed project threatens the Bad River Slough and Lake Superior, the latter probably the most valuable large body of water, liquid water on the planet. Line 5 should no longer operate as a fossil fuel delivery system. We do not need it. We can't afford to do it if we want to have a climate that we can live with. We've heard a lot about necessity today, the necessity of having propane. Actually, human beings lived very well without propane for many, many centuries. But we do need oxygen and we need clean water. And this project is a threat to both. It's a threat to the biggest freshwater asset in the world. And unfortunately, the EIS has basically failed to adequately consider this essential point. The EIS is inadequate. Line 5 has never had a full environmental analysis for the entire line. It was built during the Eisenhower administration before NEPA or WEPA existed. In the current climate change emergency, no investment in major fossil fuel projects can be justified.
One of my messages is one of gratitude to Bad River for deciding to rescind its permission for the pipeline to go through the reservation, because that means we have an opportunity to think about what it means to have a pipeline going through our precious land. So thank you, and I've been involved with the struggle since then, and I'm proud to be a defender of water, and I have a real concern about climate change. So I think this is an opportunity to stop and realize that money can be made with alternative resources for energy. That it's time to stop using fossil fuels and invest in energy that we need in order to not continue to destroy our atmosphere and our planet. And so I understand that Enbridge provides a valid resource, which is energy, but I would like this opportunity to be used to think about other ways of producing that energy. I totally respect all those of you who work in the industry, because I am grateful to you for providing that which I use in my house, electricity, gas, and I drive a car, not electric yet, but this is not the time to be building a new infrastructure that's going to be in the ground for years to come, when money should be put somewhere else. So it does come down to money, and we need to stop. And this is a great opportunity to do that. Thank you to the team that has found holes in the environmental impact statement, because that's what's going to decide it ultimately, and hopefully fairness and good laws will prevail. Thank you very much.
I oppose this cancer poison tube completely and in extension. This is a victim impact statement. I am an oil spill refugee from near Marshall, Michigan. I was there the night the oil spill happened. I saw a wall wave surge of escaping wildlife as I went there. I smelled and experienced the petrochemical gas out and fallout for so long. My mother still has to filter her water since that spill. That spill was environmental racism, as it dumped into the Notawaskapi Huron Potawatomi lands. Enbridge owns the cleanup company and pays themselves not to clean up, only cover up. Vilify any whistleblower that complies with the law, and cause any fine just because that's the cost of doing business. Enbridge threatened my neighbors here in Ashland with eminent domain, particularly for public relation purposes, bringing in Pinkerton Brute Squad posse and bribe local cops to brutalize citizens and residents. Your man camp workers are well known as rape camps. Take by force, by any means necessary, that's rape culture. This 40-mile reroute is as bad as a carpet bombing. You cannot replace what you're trying to destroy, northern Wisconsin. Full healthy nature cleans water and air, provides healthy food for life. You rebuild with a few species and destroy poisoned earth, carcinogen. You leave that. There's an irony to hearing Enbridge's lawyers declare no environmental problem here, no cultural problem here, in the face of all these statements to the contrary. The opposite is the case. That is why you spend all this lawyer and public relations, public bribe money. The false logic sales pitches, you're selling, we need jobs in fossil fuels, therefore we need this cancer poison tube destroying northern Wisconsin as a critical part of our collective mass suicide apparatus. We don't need this pipeline. Get a job that doesn't hurt people or destroy places. I understand the complicity, obedience, assimilated, converted people just want money. This is a community that celebrated the working Ordoc Superfund site as a local favorite swimming spot. Now the cancer rates are through the roof. There is always an imaginary techno-whiz fix to counter the pollution, poison, cancer, bad habits, world destroying. We're going to pay for the solutions. Who's going to pay for the solutions? The capitalists just want to get money. My dad's mom's dad is a Stoontz family from Stoontz Road here in Ashland. They surveyed the reservations in the county. From the family of the treaty translators and signers, the United States didn't do the treaty right. It's just a delay tactic until the reinforcement posse mob can arrive. Then you invoke the right, the pipeline treaty that's younger than I am, to supersede the treaty that's older than the nation. And then, you know, hey, our federal theocracy challenges the national sovereignty of all Canada, citing the 1908 Census Treaty. You're the 51st state, right? How does that feel? Violated by the same logic? The treaty was supposed to give a university with medical law and business professional degrees so we could be equals in this society. We got a blacksmith and theocratic genocide, kidnapping, molesting, mass murder. What does it mean that the doctrine of discovery has been repudiated? Land back. I've been to England, directly to the king of the British Empire's Buckingham Palace. They spoke the same English everyone here does. English is from England. Ojibwe is from here, way older than you recognize. This world, there's a different worldview. Nature is life, the source of life. Habitat-placed destruction is killing us all because air and water are being poisoned. We all are being poisoned.
My late father was a veteran of the U.S. Army, and he worked at the VA hospital in Battle Creek, which was the hospital that served veterans of the U.S. Armed Forces following the Line 6B spill in 2010 in Marshall, Michigan. And my father passed on to me the level of exotic cancers and illnesses that he saw in people who were exposed to tar sands, close to 1 million gallons that seeped into that river, as well as into the bodies of many of our U.S. veterans who worked on the cleanup. I'm here today to address the DNR permit around the issues of wetlands protections, water quality, and the possibility of reasonable alternatives. We know that wetlands provide the very best form of water storage, especially in debilitating rain events, and also the best filtration. We saw on Sunday the city of Milwaukee inundated with water. Yesterday it was the city of Chicago inundated with water. Up here in these counties, 2016 was a flood that, thank God, did not blow out Line 5. I would like to ask the staff at the DNR to fully consider the flood storage and filtration abilities of the wetlands in the watersheds that would be impacted by the 41-mile reroute, and calculate that loss of water storage were those wetlands harmed. I also want to say I want to respect the expertise at the DNR, as well as the expertise of all the union workers that have been up here today. And again, as a personal note, we are in the era of rain events and mass floods together, all of us, no matter how we feel about the pipeline. And I really would like us to come together and think about the kind of life-sustaining, middle-class sustaining jobs that we could get through water storage and filtration in the Great Lakes Basin. And I think we could really work together to do a lot better than 700 temporary jobs. Believe me, I know about the importance of labor and employment in these harsh economic times, but a temporary job doesn't get anyone where they need to go. Finally, I want to say that the EIS does not sufficiently explore the no action alternative. In fact, the document itself worries, quote, that if the DNR holds the permit, that other factors outside of the control of the DNR, end quote, will determine it. I would be curious to know what these other factors are. After all, our State Department of Natural Resources are the ones we entrust with our public waters. The DNR EIS also importantly calculates the number of hours that it would take oil in the event of a spill to reach various bodies of water. This is again a direct quotation. It would take 6.8 hours for oil to reach Lake Superior from Bay City Creek. DNR, this is not just a local issue. This is a potential project that would impact water quality and exposure to floodwaters for every single resident in the Great Lakes Basin. Thank you for your time.
Bonjour, hello. My name is Patricia Hamill. I live in Antigo, Wisconsin, and have worked as an attorney in Wisconsin for over 40 years, but my only client here is the water. And I'm just going to mention that they're building a solar farm 5 blocks from my house in Antigo. So I would welcome all the construction workers to come and build more solar farms. We've got a lot of empty parking lots and unused property around central Wisconsin. We could transition to a sustainable future that way. There's some nice forests, lakes, and rivers in north central Wisconsin, but nothing like Michigami, Lake Superior, the Bad River watershed, or the Pinocchio Hills, where I go to swim, ski, hike, camp, kayak, and find renewal. I have struggled with the effects of climate change this year, from the near snowless winter in the Northwoods to the tornadoes just south of town, the floods, hurricanes, and wildfire smoke choking us here for the last 2 months, and the next generation looks on with despair. So we're asking you, DNR, to do what our laws and Constitution require to preserve these exceptional places. Over 10 years, I've watched Enbridge lie to state and local governments about what they plan to do, what they did, and the damage it caused, as well as the purported need for their product. They paid fines for Clean Water Act violations later, here in Wisconsin, 16 years ago for Line 1 wetland violations. Enbridge has violated the Clean Water Act repeatedly, Line 6B in Michigan, Dakota Access, which Enbridge owns 28% of, and Line 3 in Minnesota. Enbridge defies state attempts to regulate them, provides sketchy details about their construction plans, and makes it up as they go. In May, during the Army Corps hearing on Bad River's objections to damaging their water quality, Enbridge changed their construction plans again. The Meshkazebe experts testified that using LiDAR, able to see through the trees, unlike the aerial survey Enbridge used, they found many more wetlands and connected tributaries of Meshkazebe by Bad River. Enbridge waited 6 months to notify Fond du Lac Band in Minnesota of the aquifer breaches on Line 3. It's more than a year in 2019 to 20 before reporting a diluent leak to the DNR from Line 13 near Fort Atkinson. And just before DNR issued these permits 9 months ago, Enbridge reported another pipeline leak near Cambridge that had been going on for an extended period of time, unquote. The company is in a hurry because U.S. District Court ordered them to remove Line 5 from the Bad River Reservation by June 16th of next year. DNR shouldn't be hasty. Enbridge has been operating Line 5 across Bad River for 12 years and the Straits of Mackinac for 4 years without a valid easement. Who else gets to do that? When someone wanders off the North Country Trail onto some of their easements, rights of way or staging areas, they can be charged with felony trespassing. Several of the tribe's experts stated in May that violations of Bad River's tribe's water quality standards cannot be avoided by the conditions the DNR put on Enbridge's reroute plans, even if Enbridge has complied with all those conditions. Their history in this regard is poor. Inadvertent releases of HDD drilling fluid are not unexpected. Enbridge admits they did it 28 times on Line 3 in Minnesota, and the same contractors have been hired to build a reroute. Employees are here thinking many jobs will be available, although most workers won't come from this area, and that's what happened on Line 3. Enbridge prior activities on the reservation have not followed best practices or even stayed on the roads, causing additional erosion into Denomi Creek. Where is the public interest in letting Enbridge mess up our rivers, streams, and wetlands to continue transporting oil from Alberta to Ontario? Line 5 never went through any environmental review when it was built. No consideration of greenhouse gas emissions will ever be done. Pipeline is 72 years old this year. How much longer do they think it will last? I was at the Tyler Forks, very special to me and many others in June. We saw a threatened wood turtle making a nest. Go in, go, no, don't give Enbridge permission to build this. Protect these priceless waters for all of us and stand up to Enbridge.
Much of the testimony has been that Enbridge yes, they've made mistakes in the past, and there's been testimony about how they've been party to or been involved in some peripheral way to missing and murdered Indigenous women, man camps, and as well as a number of environmental disasters like the Kalamazoo River disaster that I think there's been about $1.4 billion spent on that so far for cleanup, and it's not cleaned up. And so I would like to suggest that since much of the testimony today has been about how Enbridge is a reformed company and they have everybody's best interests in mind, and there's union employees whose incomes and supporting their families on the line, which is completely legitimate. I'm a union guy, my son is currently a union guy, and I can relate to that. But if Enbridge really was this reformed, legit company, I would like to suggest that they would have already stopped the pipeline because it is an imminent threat of catastrophic rupture. And they would have closed off the pipeline instead of risking the largest freshwater resource on the planet and an oil spill straight into Superior right now would shut down the fishing industry, the boat to Madeline Island would have to shut down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can just imagine it would be an economic, ecologic problem for the entire region. And I just don't believe that Enbridge is this reformed company, and I don't think they ever will be. Profit is the bottom line for them. And I'd like to suggest that this line does not get permitted.
I am here to plead for my future. The Great Lakes is over 20% of the world's freshwater resource. Here's what we know about Line 5. It was built in 1955 and was only meant to operate for 50 years. We are 21 years past this estimated time. It has already sustained damage, causing over 30 ruptures into the Great Lakes and surrounding communities. A reroute is dangerous and unnecessary. Wisconsin and Michigan's coastal communities hardly benefit from Line 5, yet we will be the first to be negatively impacted from an oil spill. And the proof of that is in Enbridge's track record. The second worst inland oil spill in United States history, when 1 million gallons of oil contaminated the Kalamazoo River. Further, on November 11th of 2024, 69,000 gallons of crude oil spilled into Jefferson County. The general public was not informed of this spill until December 13th. It is vital that we keep in mind that the failed carbon steel valve was over 50 years old. This is aging, dwindling infrastructure. I understand that there are many people here today that are trying to fight for their jobs at Enbridge. I completely empathize as a proud union member, but I'm also here because I want to protect all of your quality of water. This is something that impacts every single one of you, and I would like, if I may, to read a quote from Enbridge's sustainability portion on their website. At Enbridge, we integrate biodiversity considerations into our operation and the communities where we work to balance the protection of land, planet, and animal life. We do this through a lens of cultural priorities and social equity. This is a quote from Enbridge's website. I'm incredibly curious what part of protecting the land means spilling over 1 million gallons of oil into the Kalamazoo River. I'm very curious what part of social equity means waiting a full month to tell the public about the devastating oil spill in Jefferson County. What part of cultural priority means operating illegally on a reservation and then proposing a reroute onto waterways that flow into the reservation and further into Lake Superior? The fact is, we cannot trust this company. No amount of money can wash away the sins of big oil. No oil will replace the necessity and human right that is clean water. To all those in this room who support the reroute, I have something I wish to remind you. When your oil contaminates our water, you destroy us. You will contaminate my body. You will desecrate the grave of my father. You will destroy the future of all of those who will rely on the Great Lakes for fresh water. We cannot remain in the place we have always inhabited if it is contaminated with oil. In time, when the pipeline is burst, when our wild rice beds are poisoned, and our land is a biological hazard, I will come to you and ask if you are finally satisfied with the dollars in your pocket. When our cancer rates skyrocket and our children grow up with deformities from oil contamination, I will ask you to pay for their hospital bills. When we are waging wars for water, and it is a commodity only the rich can afford, I will come to you and expect you. I will expect you to fill my cup, because that's what you've taken from me. When you come to reroute the pipeline on the waterways that flow into the reservation, I will stand in the way. I am the proud daughter of a tribal member who blockaded the tracks in 1996 to protect the reservation, and I will do it again in a heartbeat. I am very proud of that history, and we cannot, for the sake of our ancestors, we cannot let this reroute happen. This will devastate all people, native and non-native, Enbridge employees, and tribal members. This will impact all of us. Clean water is the basis of our humanity. When it's so incredibly critical. Lastly, I want to promise that you will never be free of us until Line 5 is decommissioned. Not rerouted, decommissioned. This ongoing conflict has raised a new generation of tribal people who will carry on the fight of our ancestors. I will not stop fighting for the well-being of the Great Lakes until I'm dead in the ground. And I hope that by the time that I am dead in the ground, I will not be next to your leaking pipeline. I am begging all of you here today, I'm begging you, Judge Foy, please be on the right side of history and protect the Great Lakes and the surrounding watershed. I am begging you to give me a future with clean, safe drinking water. Miigwech.